Disturbing things. I said I was going to be safe, but it's disturbing. We out here in these streets. So last year there was this story that came out on the news, and I'm gonna play a little bit, not the whole thing entirely, but I'm gonna just kind of play the news clips that surrounded this topic, and then I'm gonna talk about the young lady who this story centers around. Let me give you some background to it. Basically, there was this young lady who was a star track and field athlete, and she was, doing her thing on her way to college, about to get scholarships for this sport within her area, women's. Geez, I can't even get my thoughts put together. But in her women's sport, in her sports, and then there was these males who came over. Who basically were transgendered males who identified as a woman. They are transitioning into a woman, decided that they want to run in the women's sports to go along with their idea of who they believe they are. And so the women, the moms, and a lot of the young ladies on the track team were saying that this is not fair, because now we have these males who are in the women's sports, and then therefore we're not able to excel in the arena that we're supposed to be excelling in, because now there's these transgendered females who used to be male. Let's look at that real quick.
A transgender high school athlete who is biologically a male took first place in both the 100 and 200 meter dash at Connecticut's Girls Track and Field State Championships.
When I'm at the start of the race, when I'm lining up and getting into my blocks, everyone already knows the outcome. Those two athletes are going to come 1 and 2, and everyone knows it.
The Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference, the CIAC, says that athletes can choose to compete for the sport in which they gender identify with.
No one thinks it's fair, because we all know that males are physically stronger than females, and they compete at a higher level.
Petitions are circulating in Plainville and Glastonbury after 2 trans girls swept the competition at the State Track and Field Championships.
From third on, it's a little different. We're actually fighting for those spots, but in those meets, there's no way that one of us biological girls will be able to outrun those transgender athletes.
We will make America fairer by passing the Equality Act to end discrimination against the LGBTQ community.
It will be the end of girls and women's only sport if we make simply gender identity the basis for eligibility for girls.
Right, you'll have men's sports and you'll have co-ed sports.
So I'm going to unpack this a little bit, because this has got to be, in my opinion, one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? I got to be safe on some of these social medias. Disturbing things. I said I was going to be safe, but it's disturbing. Here's my thoughts on it. We have a society that differentiates man and female, and this is not because of somebody's ideology or because of what somebody think a male is and what they think a female is. Right now in this society, both of those ideas are being attacked in certain situations, but being embraced in others. And this is obviously coming from the party that I'm always talking about, the Democratic Party, the liberal ideal of things, trying to say that I think it started back in the day where they're trying to say that women can do what men do, right? And this is this whole feminist women empowerment thing that rises up. So now we have this idea that women can do what men do, but women were still women. This is what I liked about the feminists, that at least they still kept it women. Women can do what men do. And honestly, I believe in certain instances, yes. And in certain instances, no, because men can't do what women do in certain instances. So it all depends on what it is, what the activity is, or what the ideal is, or what the the situation is. Like, obviously men can't have babies, and I know that they're trying to say that they can. Maybe they're trying to medically make them, but it's not natural. You cannot do it naturally. So the women in this case were really mad about the idea that these guys or these transgender women were coming over into the sport, because, and here was the story. When they were running with the males, they were mediocre. They weren't stars. They weren't this. They weren't that. They couldn't keep up. But when they came over to the women, they became the fastest on the team. And see, and this is the controversy about it. We keep saying that women can do what men can do, and men can do what women. We have the society that's trying to perpetuate there's no difference between men and women, and obviously we know that's not naturally true. Men are naturally stronger. Women are naturally built a different way. I'm not gonna say weaker, because I might get some backlash, but that's the truth of it. I just said it, huh? You see what I did there? But anyways, feel me? But women are naturally built different. Like, men are more broader at the top, a little stronger in the arms and the chest area. Women are a little bit wider and thicker in the leg area. I think sometimes when it comes to leg strength, not in durability and quickness, but women tend to carry more strength, more muscle in their legs and their hips, and that's because they have to be able to. I think that's a genetic thing when it comes to child rearing. Than men. Men are smaller in their legs, if you noticed. They don't have the wide hips, and obviously there's different body types depending on what type of hormones you have going on, what type of health issues you have going on, or just DNA makeup and stuff like that. So there are exceptions, but widely, if we want to look at naturally, if you look at all men are a little bit broader up top, not so much in the legs. Women are a little bit broader in the bottom and the hips than not in the top. So this is why we like them women with them big booty. Let me stop. But get back to the story. The men are made different. So here's the thing that they were fussing about is these transgender women are going to naturally be stronger than the women. And how fair is that? And here's what I think. Women, the feminists and women's rights people should be appalled by this, because they fought so that women can have their things, but have their sports, their groups, their jobs, their everything. They fought to have this women empowerment, saying that, okay, women should be able, even though we're not the same as men, we should be able to have things on an equal level as men. And what we're not realizing is now we're adding men, transgender women, back into the mix of women. And here's one of the things that I always told people when I look at this story. And I had this conversation with one of my friends, Lewis. You saw him on one of my shows here. But I was like, it's funny how you have a lot of transgender women who used to be men going to women's sports, but you don't see a lot of transgender men who used to be women trying to be in men's sports. So here's the biggest thing. What is that really about? Is it really about, I identify as a woman, you should treat me as a woman? Because you don't hear a lot of transgender men saying that. I mean, they advocate for it, but you don't see them trying to compete in men's sports. Because why is it not the other way around? Why don't you see an influx of transgender men who used to be women coming into men's sports? You don't see that. You only see it on the opposite end. And now this gets into this notion where now the women who fought for the rights of women and fought for the sports and fought for the things so that women can have, and now again being taken over by men again. And I know there's going to be some controversy on this where people's like, well, you can't call them men because they identify as women. You know what? You can't infringe on my right to speech. You're born a man, you're a man. You're born a woman, you're a woman. If you choose to change that gender, that's what you choose to do. That's more power to you. Do what you do. I don't have any say about what you do with your life and how you live it, but what I'm not going to do is act like you weren't born a certain way. And you're not going to tell me natural order is wrong. Okay, we don't control that. A higher power controls that, and we're saying that that's if you're saying your gender is a defect, come on guys. And then there's this whole controversy of the hermaphrodite who is both and stuff like that, but we can get into the science of that, but I'm not. But the thing is, you're not a hermaphrodite. Like, here's the funny thing. People bring that up. You're not somebody who was born with two genitalia. You're a regular guy, born a guy, and you're changing yourself to a woman, or you're born a woman and you're changing yourself to a guy. That's just kind of, they called that, they actually had gender dysphoria. That's what they called it in the medical term, but now that's like a hate word, so you can't say those things. But we have to look at this, and here's my plight on this. I don't have an issue with men wanting to change their sex to women, or women wanting to change their sex to men. I don't. My thing is, you have to understand, even though you want to change that, there are certain things about your body chemistry, your DNA, that you cannot change. And the fact that you were born a man, you're going to be stronger than most women. So it's not a good thing for you to be a good thing for you to join into women's sports. And here's one incident. There was an MMA fighter who came in. She's a transgender woman who used to be a man, and forgive me if I'm messing up my pronouns. I'm trying not to get kicked off the YouTube because everything is hate speech now. So I have to use these, in order to get my points across, I have to use the correct, public term? So, but these transgender women were in the MMA and beating the Pope out of these women and dominating the MMA world. And I find offense to that, because let's just say I decide I want to beat a woman up. I'm going to go to jail for beating a woman down. Matter of fact, even if I got into the ring with a woman, there's a certain rule, a certain etiquette that's going to apply when I'm getting in the ring with a woman. Even if you see it in WWE when they have like the mixed match matches, when a woman gets tagged in, the other woman has to come in, because they understand that, like, this dude is stronger than this woman. He's going to toss this woman around. Like, you're not going to put me in a boxing ring. Because in that case, why we even have women's sports and men's sport? Why don't we just put it all together and it'd be women's boxing is also men's boxing, and women can challenge men and men can challenge women. I'm talking about men that are biological men and identify with a man, and I'm talking about women who are biological women who identify women. If we're going to allow the transgender people to infiltrate the opposite sport of their born gender, why are we not now saying, okay, then men and women's boxing needs to be one, and I can challenge a woman? No, y'all wouldn't like that. Y'all would think that was weird. Y'all would think that was bad. And then y'all would say, why are you challenging a woman? You weak. You a man. You a this and you a this. And then some of y'all saying, oh, well, people go through hormone displacement and stuff like this. Now, you just saw from the story that I showed you that regardless of what you feel, those two people went through hormone replacement, but they're still a lot stronger. They might be growing some parts that they probably wouldn't normally grow, but they're still stronger. They still have the stamina of a man. They still have the stature of a man. Even those MMA fighters, they still have it because they have a higher sense of testosterone like men have. They have a higher sense of strength. They have a different type of muscle build in their body. Men build muscle different than women, and it's going to build faster than women in most instances, unless a woman is juicing or taking extra steroids to try to do it. But even that, they're still physically weaker than most men. most men at their caliber. I'm not, see, some of y'all be like, well, she's stronger than men. If she's working out and fighting, of course she's stronger. Like the average man, Ronda Rousey, is going to take that man out. But a man that's at the level of Ronda Rousey, did I say her name right? If he has the same training as Ronda Rousey and same physical training, he's going to be naturally stronger. So you can't say, oh, because she's stronger and she goes to the gym, you put him to an average man that never goes to the gym, that she's going to be stronger. Of course that's going to happen. Of course. But you put him at the comparable weight? No, it's not going to happen. You're not going to take an MMA fighter man and put it in an MMA fighter woman and think that woman's going to win. So why are we doing that with the transgender? That's just all I'm saying. We'll be back. The question of today: do you think it's morally right to allow transgender females who used to be men join into sports of biological females? Please put your comments and answers below. Tell me why, if you agree, if you don't agree. I want to hear it all. I want to be able to highlight some of these on my lives. So those will be coming up real soon. About February, I'll be doing some lives. So I'll be highlighting some of these questions that I've asked and placed on social media. And we're going to be getting your take. And hey, I'm going to be inviting you guys onto the live and onto the show. So go ahead and answer. Make sure you like, and subscribe. And get your friends involved in everything. I want to hear everybody's opinion. I want as much opinions as possible, because I want to see what the world thinks. We'll be back after this. Hey, if you like this video and more, make sure you're logging on to YouTube, the Wiley Life, also Speak Music Radio, also Cypher on the Block. All those platforms have different content on there. Obviously, Speak Music Radio is my radio station, which my Cypher on the Block is featured on. And there's other content there from BB Talks and a lot of different things. Interviews that we've done at Stutter Awards, as well as on the Wiley Life. It's all the content that I create. And Cypher on the Block is specifically this podcast. Make sure the whole podcast is in full. That's the only thing that's posted on there. All the clips are posted on the Wiley Life. So make sure you're subscribing, and pushing the notification bell, because I want to know that you make sure you're supporting. If you like everything I'm doing, support me by going to my Patreon account. That's The Wiley Life Patreon. The Wiley Life. Look that up. Become a Patreon. There's going to be some Patreon exclusive content that are going to be going. If you become a Patreon at certain levels, you will get gifts from my merch store. My merch store. You can also support me that way. If you just want to go get some merch, you can support me that way. That's on teespring.com/stores/ The Wiley Life. Make sure you follow me on all of my social medias. That's Chris Conscious on all social medias. That's The Wiley Life and Cypher on the Block. Please, please, please. And we out here in these streets.